Tonight, we start the podcast a little differently. First, I'm locking in this disclaimer. If you feel targeted by this episode of the podcast, please feel free not to listen. I don't target people. I just speak on topics that I feel need to be spoken on. And that is all. But, as of right now, I want the DJ to rattle the halls. So, DJ, hit my intro.
Where the whispers crawl, where the broken shadows stain the wall. A heavy step echoes through the deadened air. The warden walks and terror follows everywhere. Keys like iron tombstones ring. A lullaby no saint soul should sing. He knows each scream, each name, each plea, for none escape his registry. Warden of the asylum, the darkness stares, cold as the thoughts no mind should bear. His coat drags like a mourning shroud, a ghost made flesh, a silence loud. He turns the key and worlds collapse. Sanity breaks in his iron grasp. The lights flicker when he draws near, even the walls remember fear. Warden of the asylum, of the locked and lost. He binds the night with fear and frost. Keeper of the secrets no one dares recall. Warden of the asylum, ruler of the endless hall. Hear the scraping chains, a promise not a threat. Every sin, every pain, he collects each debt. No hope, no dawn, no calm within. Only the warden and the weight of every sin. Warden of the asylum, when nightmares learn to crawl, where broken souls obey his call, when the last light fades and the lost ones fall, he stands unending, King of the Iron Hall.
Alright, let's fade into the scene that we need to be in. Welcome back to the podcast, guys. Today's episode is a simple yet powerful question. Our podcast for you. Not should you start one, not how to grow one, but whether podcasting actually fits who you are, how you communicate, and what you want to give to the world. Because podcasting isn't just a trend, it's a mirror. Podcasts didn't explode because people wanted more noise. They grew because people wanted connection. A podcast is a conversation someone chooses to invite into their life while they drive, clean, work, walk, or try to quiet their thoughts. If you've ever felt like you you explain yourself better out loud than in text, you have thoughts that don't fit into short posts, you process life by talking, or you wish someone would just listen. That's where podcasting begins. Not with microphones, not with downloads, but with voice. That's very true. Um, I actually have a few podcasts myself that I listen to. And I listen to them while I'm trying to quiet my thoughts down. I listen to them while I'm cleaning. I listen to them while I'm out walking. I listen to them daily. Um, but it does help. It means that you're actually inviting someone into your life that you don't know, but you're willing to listen to their conversational piece. Let's be honest, though. Podcasting is not for you if you hate speaking without immediate feedback. Silence makes you uncomfortable. You don't enjoy long form thoughts. Or you're doing it because everyone else is. And that's not a failure. Some people communicate best through writing, visuals, or action. Podcasting asks you to sit with your own voice, your own pauses, your own honesty, your own imperfections. If that sounds terrifying, good. That means it's real. Podcasting might be for you if you've ever had a late night conversation that felt healing. If you've ever said, I wish more people could hear this. You enjoy talking through ideas, emotions, and stories. You want to help people feel less alone. Or you feel like you've lived enough to share something meaningful. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to perfect articulation. You don't need confidence every day. You just need truth. Very true. You do need truth every day. And by having truth, it helps you realize who the people are that you can trust. People that feed you lies are not people that you want in your inner circle. People that feed you things that you shouldn't hear are not people you want around you. But what people don't tell you about podcasting. Here's the part that no one likes to say. Most podcasts don't blow up. Most podcasts don't go viral. Most days, it will feel like you're talking into a void, but here's a secret. You're rarely speaking to no one. You're speaking to someone quiet, someone who listens but doesn't comment, someone who needed that episode that day, someone who felt understood for the first time in a while. Podcasting isn't about numbers first, it's about impact. So instead of asking, will my podcast succeed? Do I even ask, do I speak even if no one claps? Would I still record if it helped just one person? Am I okay being heard as I am, not as I pretend to be? If the answer is yes, podcasting might not just be for you. It might be calling you. Um, Podcasting is not for everyone. And you may not like podcasts in general. Sometimes certain topics that people talk about is are they feel targeting. But I'm going to tell you now, It's not, podcasts are not for everyone. If someone talks on a certain topic and you feel targeted, you don't need to be listening. If someone talks on certain ideals and you feel targeted, you don't need to be listening. You shouldn't listen to something that you feel targeted every time that they post a episode. And if you're on the fence, start small. Listen to one episode of a podcast. And if you're one that wants to start a podcast, record one episode. Don't publish it. Just listen to yourself. Not to judge, but to hear who you are when you're allowed to speak freely. And if you decide that podcasting isn't for you, that's not quitting. That's self-awareness. So let's go from talking about if podcasts are for you to the topic of should you start a podcast? Let me ask you something. How many times have you thought about starting a podcast and then talked yourself out of it? Maybe you told yourself, there are already too many podcasts. No one would listen to me. I don't have the right voice. Or I'll start when I'm more confident. Today, we're answering one simple question. Should you start one? And I'll be honest with you. This isn't about hype. This is about truth. Most people don't want a podcast because they want fame. They want it because they have something stuck inside of them. A story, a perspective, a lesson learned the hard way. A voice that's been quiet for too long. Podcasting attracts people who think deeply, feel intensely, and process life out loud. It's not about being loud. It's about being heard. Let's talk about the reason that you won't carry. Let's talk about the reasons that won't carry you far. You probably shouldn't start a podcast if you want fast growth or validation. If you expect instant success, you don't enjoy talking without feedback, or you're just doing it because others are. Podcasting is slow and it's lonely sometimes. And the reward doesn't always come in numbers. It's your motivation. If your motivation is fragile and the silence will break it. I will tell you now, starting this podcast, I did not start it for fame. I started it because I had topics and things that I wanted to talk on. And we've went through a lot of them. We have this at least two to three times a year. We have the State of Gaming podcast, which we do. And we may repeat topics, but we usually have new information for those topics. And podcasting is slow and it is lonely. And the reward isn't about the numbers. For me, it's about talking and making someone stay better. Talking on the topic, possibly helping someone make it through their day. Being here to have someone take me to work. I have a few listeners that take me to work and listen to me while they're at work. I have a few listeners that while they're cleaning around their house, they listen to me while they clean. And there are right reasons to start a podcast. And you should possibly start a podcast if you want to help people feel less alone, which is the reason I started this one. You'd speak even if only one person listened. I would. You believe conversation can heal. I do. You want to grow alongside your audience. I definitely do. You're okay being imperfect in public. I don't care. No one's perfect. You don't need a perfect setup. You don't need professional training. You don't need confidence first. Confidence is built by doing, not waiting. The biggest fear isn't failure, it's exposure. Podcasting reveals your thoughts, your emotions, your pauses, your honesty. You can't hide behind edits forever. But here's the thing, people don't connect with perfection, they connect with presence. The episodes you're worried aren't good enough might be the ones that someone needed the most. Success in podcasting isn't going viral. It's a message that says, "This helped me." Someone returning every week. Growth in your own clarity. Becoming more comfortable with your own voice. A podcast changes you before it changes your audience. We did a podcast episode on family. We put it up on Spotify. And I had a few of my friends who listened to it come to me and, yeah, Ducky, it's hearing the voices in the darkness. That's basically what podcasting is. It's hearing the voice in the darkness. It's about listening to yourself. It's about becoming comfortable with yourself. And it does change you before it changes your audience. Before you decide, ask yourself these questions. Would I do this without applause? Yes, I would. Am I willing to be consistent and not perfect? Yes, I am. Do I want to speak even when it's uncomfortable? Yes. Am I okay growing slowly? Yes. If you answered yes, then maybe the real question isn't should you start? It's why haven't you yet? You don't need to start a podcast because you're ready. You start because you're willing to be heard, willing to learn, willing to speak even when your voice shakes. So yeah, podcasting changes you before it changes your audience. Podcasting, being consistent is part of being a podcaster. You have to be consistent. You have to be willing to. My first podcast episode, I went back and listened to. I go back and listen to episode 1 quite frequently. It's how I know I'm ready. It's how I know that I should be doing this. It's not about being famous. I don't want to be famous. I want to be heard. Even if it's just by one person. But there's other things that we need to talk about. First off, finding your podcast topic without boxing yourself in. By now, if you've been following along, you might think, okay, I want to start a podcast. I know I don't need to be perfect, but what am I actually supposed to talk about? This is where a lot of people get stuck. They think choosing a topic means choosing a box, a label, a version of themselves they can't outgrow. Today, we're going to talk about how to find your podcast topic without trapping yourself in. And here's the mistake that most people make. They think their podcast topic has to define them forever. It doesn't. Your topic is not who you are. It's simply a lens you're speaking through right now. You're allowed to evolve. Your interests are allowed to shift. Your understanding is allowed to deepen. A podcast isn't a promise that you'll never change. It's proof that you are. Instead of asking, what should my podcast be about? Ask, what do I always end up talking about? Ask, what topics do I think about when I'm alone? Ask, what conversations make time disappear? What do people come to me for? Your topics live in your patterns, not your plans. Pay attention to what you naturally return to, even when no one's watching. Choosing a theme is not a cage. Think in themes, not niche, n- niches. A theme is flexible. A cage is restrictive. Examples: not mental health tips, but navigating being human. Not gaming news, but why games matter to us. Not self-help, but learning as I go. Not parenting advice, but figuring it out in real time. Themes give you themes give you room to breathe. They let your podcast grow with you. Let this sink in. And you don't have to be an expert. You don't need to be ahead of your audience. You just need to be honest about where you are. Some of the most powerful podcasts are hosted by people saying, I'm still learning. I don't have this figured out. I'm walking this path too. That honesty builds trust faster than expertise ever could. And I am still learning. I really am. I'm still learning how to be a podcaster. I'm still learning how to come up with topics. Your first 10 episodes are practice. This part matters. The first episodes are not your final form, they're drafts. You're allowed to test different topics, change your format, shift your focus, learn what feels right. Give yourself permission to explore. Most podcasts don't fail because the topic was wrong. They fail because the creator stopped themselves too early. If you feel pulled in multiple directions, good. That means that you're layered. If you love multiple things, your podcast can reflect that, as long as the core intention stays the same. Ask yourself, what do I want people to feel after listening? That feeling becomes your anchor. You don't find your podcast topic by forcing it. You find it by paying attention to what moves you, to what stays with you, to what you can talk about even on your worst days. Let your podcast be a conversation that you're already having with yourself, just shared out loud. I have a hard time coming up with topics. I really do. I look to my friends for topics. I look to a lot of people. I've even taken a few podcast topics just from talking to my family. And it's very hard. Podcast topics are not something that are readily available unless you're a chat GPT user. And then you can easily find a podcast topic. So we have talked about podcasts. Now we're going to talk about something that needs to be talked about. Let me ask you something. Most people don't want to think about it. Are you actually qualified to run a stream team? Or do you just want the title? Because a stream team isn't a logo. It's not a Discord badge. It's not a name you put next to yours for clout. A stream team is people. And people come with trust, expectations, and responsibility. So today we're asking the real question. Are you qualified to run one? A stream team is not a group chat. It's not a follow for follow circle. It's not a growth shortcut or a popularity contest. A real stream team is a community within a community. People look to you for your direction. For direction, standards, conflict resolution, emotional safety, and leadership, whether you asked for it or not. If you're not ready for that, that's not a flaw. It's awareness. Um, If you're a leader of a stream team, people do look to you for direction. They also look to you for standards. They look to you for conflict resolution. They look to you for emotional safety. They look to you for leadership. And running and owning a stream team is mentally and emotionally taxing, and a lot of people don't realize that. You're right, Ren. You're right. It's not a follow for follow circle. You don't go into a stream team thinking that everyone on that stream team should follow you. It's not a shortcut. It's not a growth shortcut. You're not going to grow overnight because everyone in the stream team is going to follow you. And it's not a popularity contest for sure. But let's talk about an uncomfortable truth. The uncomfortable truth. Wanting to lead is not the same as being ready to lead. Leadership means making unpopular decisions. Leadership means holding boundaries. Leadership means saying no. Leadership means being consistent even when you're tired. Being fair, not favorites. If the idea of being questioned, challenged, or relied on feels overwhelming, that's not judgment, that's a signal. A signal that you're not ready. You have to make the unpopular decision. You have to hold boundaries. You have to learn to say no. You have to be consistent even when even when you're tired. And you have to be fair and not play favorites. You don't need to be big. You need to be stable. A lot of people think you need numbers to run a stream team. You don't. What you need is stability. Ask yourself, do I show up consistently? Can people trust my word? Do I handle conflict calmly? Can I separate personal feelings from decisions? Am I emotionally regulated enough to lead others? A small, healthy team beats a large, chaotic one every time. Your culture will become the team's culture. This part matters more than anything. Your habits become the standard. Your jokes become the tone. Your boundaries become the rules. If you avoid confrontation, gossip, play favorites, disappear without communication, your team will reflect that. A stream team is a mirror. It doesn't hide your flaws, it amplifies them. Let's go back. Do I show up consistently? Me, personally? Yes. Can people trust my word? Always. Do I handle conflict calmly? I'm a neutral party, so yes. Can I separate my personal feelings from decisions? Yes. Am I emotionally regulated enough to lead others? Yes. Your habits, they do become the standard. Your jokes, they do become the tone. Your boundaries also become the rules. If you're a leader of a stream team and you avoid confrontation, you gossip, you play favorites, and disappear without communication, it's like I just said, a stream team is a mirror. Therefore, it amplifies your flaws. It amplifies them tenfold. But the real question, are you willing to serve, not control? Leadership isn't about control. It's about service. That means amplifying others, not competing with them, creating opportunities instead of hoarding attention, protecting your members from drama, giving credit openly. If you need constant validation from your team, you're not leading, you're depending. And that's dangerous to everyone involved. Maybe you should ask yourself these questions honestly. Before you start or run a stream team, ask, can I enforce the rules even on friends? Can I step in during a conflict without taking sides? Am I ready to be blamed when things go wrong? Can I lead without needing praise? Am I building this for people or for my ego? If your answer to any of those is yes, then you're ready for a stream team. If your answer to that final question is for your ego, don't bother. No one's interested. If these questions make you uncomfortable, that's good. Discomfort is self-awareness growing. Not everyone should run a stream team, and that's okay. Leadership isn't about being chosen. It's about being ready. If you're not there yet, that doesn't mean never. It just means not yet. Grow first. Stabilize first. Lead later. Until next time, protect your community like it matters, because it does. So, being a stream team leader reflects, basically, it shows who you are, because your habits become the standard for the team. Your jokes become the tone for the team. And then your boundaries become the rules. And it is emotionally taxing. It is mentally and emotionally taxing. It's also stress. But let's answer something else. Let's talk about something else that has to do with stream teams. Yes, we're covering a bunch of things in this podcast episode. When is it time for you to step down as a stream team leader? Leadership doesn't end when you say, I'm in charge. Sometimes it ends when you're brave enough to say, I'm not the right person anymore. Today isn't about failure. It's about responsibility. Because knowing when to step down is just as important as to knowing when to step up. Let's clear this up right away. Stepping down is not quitting. It's not giving up. It's not being weak. It's not letting people down. In many cases, it is the most selfless leadership decision you can make. Real damage happens when someone stays in control long after they've stopped being present. That is true. Stepping down is the most selfless leadership decision you can make. That doesn't go for just stream teams. That goes for anything where there is a leader involved. If you are no longer present and you are the leader of a guild on WoW, stepping down and giving it to someone who is more present is the right thing to do. It shows that you're willing to step back because you're not there anymore. And there are warning signs you really shouldn't ignore. Here are the signs it may be time to step back. You feel drained instead of fulfilled. You avoid team conversations or conflict. You're reactive instead of thoughtful. You're inconsistent with rules or presence. You're leading out of obligation, not intention. You feel resentful toward the team. Resentment is a signal, not a flaw. It usually means your capacity has been exceeded. So, if you feel drained and not fulfilled, if you avoid team conversations or conflict, if you're reactive instead of thoughtful, if you're inconsistent with your own rules, if you're leading out of obligation, not intention, and if you're resentful toward the team. So those are all signs that you should step down. Those are all signs that you should give leadership to someone else. Staying for the wrong reasons hurts everyone. Many leaders stay because they're afraid of losing their identity. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of hurting feelings. They're afraid of watching something continue without them. But staying when you're no longer aligned creates confusion. It creates unspoken tension. It creates passive leadership, emotional fallout. A team can survive change. What it can't survive is unchecked burnout. If you're a leader and you're worried about losing your identity, you're not going to lose your identity. You're going to be looked at, if you step down, as someone who made the decision to allow someone else to step in the shoes and take over for a while until you're able to get back on your feet. You're going to be looked at as someone who actually understands. And here's a few ways to step down in the right way. If you step down, how you do it matters. A healthy exit includes clear communication, ownership without blame, transparency without oversharing, respect for the team's future. You don't vanish, you don't ghost, you don't drop emotional bombs. You model maturity one last time. Huh. Oh, if that's what a healthy exit looks like, what does a bad one look like? So, in other words, if you're thinking of stepping down, there should be clear communication. You should take ownership for stepping down without blaming someone else. There should be transparency about why you're stepping down. And you should respect the team's future. You shouldn't vanish. You shouldn't ghost the team. You shouldn't drop emotional bombs. You should model maturity. In other words, you should be mature about it. Passing the torch is still leadership. Leading doesn't mean holding power forever. It means preparing others to lead, trusting the structure you helped build, letting something outgrow you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, I trust the community without me at the center. That's not weakness. It's called evolution. If you're afraid of what comes after, here's the truth. If your worth is tied entirely to leadership, stepping down will feel like you're losing yourself. But you are more than a role, more than a title, more than a team. Leadership should add to your life, not consume it. The final thought. Knowing when to lead is important. Knowing when to let go is wisdom. If you're facing this decision, pause, be honest. Choose what protects the people, not your pride. Sometimes the best leaders don't stay forever. They leave things better than they found them. They lead with integrity, even when it's hard. So, while you're in leadership, correct me if I'm wrong, and I misread my notes here, but you prepare others to lead. In other words, you build up someone that can lead the team when you're not able to anymore. You find someone that can do it while you're stepping down. And you trust the structure that you built. You trust the structure that you helped build. You if it You're not going to hold power forever. You can't. Sometimes it's best to step down. It's not weakness to step down. It's evolution. Okay. So far for the stream team aspect of this podcast. And Rain, you're right, as best as you are able to do so. You train someone else that can lead. You put another leader into place. You help them become the person that you want to lead the team. You show them the ins and outs. Why do some stream teams fail? And what actually matters? Most stream teams don't fail loudly. They don't explode overnight. They fade. Quietly, uncomfortably, with tension no one wants to name. So, we're talking about the question a lot of people avoid. Why do stream teams fail? And more importantly, what actually matters if you want one to last? Stream teams rarely fail because of numbers. Let's get this out of the way. Stream teams don't fail because they're small. They fail because they're unstable. A team of 5 people with trust will outlast a team of 50 people chasing clout. Growth doesn't fix weak foundation. Weak foundations. It exposes them. Well, you're right. Growth doesn't fix a weak foundation. It exposes it. A team of 5 with trust will outlast a team of 50 that are chasing clout. And most stream teams don't fail because they're small. They fail because they're unstable. Lack of clear purpose. One of the fastest ways a stream team will collapse is when no one knows why it exists. If the purpose is helping each other grow, networking, supporting streams, that's not a purpose. That's a vague hope. The real purpose answers, what do we stand for? What behavior is unacceptable? Who is this team not for? Without clarity, conflict becomes personal. Hi, Sarah. Welcome in. So, without conflict with a stream team, when you are the leader, when you decide to found one, those questions, the real purpose questions, are what do we stand for? What behavior is unacceptable? Who is this team not for? If there's no clarity, conflict becomes personal. Poor leadership. Poor leadership. This is where most damage happens. This is where a stream team fails when the leaders avoid conflict, they play favorites, they overshare emotionally, lead while burned out, make rules they don't enforce. When leadership becomes inconsistent, members start guessing. And when people start guessing, trust erodes. Boundaries don't kill community, they protect it. So, a stream team fails ultimately, basically. A stream team fails when a leader avoids conflict, plays favorites, overshares emotionally, leads while they're burnt out, and makes rules they don't enforce. Huh. I mean, I would have thought a stream team imploded if the leader just wasn't there all the time. Period. But who knew? Ego over community. Let's say the quiet part out loud. Some stream teams exist to boost one person's brand, center one personality, create loyalty instead of collaboration. That imbalance always shows. When members feel like accessories, numbers, or replaceable, they disengage. A team built around ego will collapse the moment the attention shifts. Huh. So, you shouldn't make a team if it's going to be about you. You shouldn't make a team if it's going to center around you. You shouldn't make a team if you're wanting loyalty over collaboration. If your members start to feel like accessories, numbers are replaceable, they're going to disengage. And the stream team is gonna ultimately collapse when the attention shifts to someone else. No system for conflict. Conflict is inevitable. What matters is how it's handled. Teams fail when problems are ignored, drama is allowed to spread, public callouts replace private conversations, people feel unsafe speaking up. Silence doesn't mean peace, it means fear. Healthy teams don't avoid conflict, they contain it responsibly. Huh, really? Um, well, I mean, this is research. What actually makes a stream team last, though? Here's what actually matters: clear values, consistent leadership, fair rules applied evenly, open but respectful communication, emotional safety, accountability at every level, not hype, not numbers, not matching logos. People stay where they feel respected. Very true. Clear values, fair rules applied to everyone evenly, open but respectful communication, emotional safety, accountability at every level. Good God, that word keeps on showing up in every podcast I do. Accountability at every level. So let's go over what's going on if your team is struggling right now. If you're listening to this and thinking, yeah, this sounds familiar, that doesn't mean accountability at every level. Every level. Even for leadership. If your team is struggling right now, if you're listening and thinking, this sounds familiar, that doesn't mean it's over. It means it's time to reevaluate the purpose of the team, reestablish the boundaries that have fallen, have uncomfortable conversations, or make structural changes. Ignoring problems won't save a team. Addressing them might. So, you're telling me if I made a stream team, using myself as an example here, if I made a stream team and my stream team is struggling, and this podcast, and I listened to this episode, and I wasn't the one doing it, and I say, yeah, this sounds familiar. We should reevaluate our purpose, reestablish the boundaries, have the uncomfortable conversations, and make structural changes. Huh. I would have never thunk it. Stream teams don't fail because people stop caring. They fail because care isn't structured. Community without leadership becomes chaos. Leadership without empathy becomes control. The teams that last are built on respect, not attention. I will say that louder for the people in the back. The teams that last are built on respect, not attention. Lead intentionally, protect your people, and remember what you tolerate becomes your culture. Oh, now we're getting into something interesting. Now we're getting into something really interesting. Um, again, uh, it's if you're in the Twitch chat, it's pinned at the top. I know what happened when Ren posted it. It's pinned at the top. If if you feel targeted at all by any of these topics, maybe you shouldn't listen. Let's go over why dating inside the stream team is a bad idea. There's a topic that breaks more stream teams than burnout, growth issues, or platform changes. Dating inside the stream team. Not private relationships, not adults meeting naturally outside the space, but, but romantic relationships built within this team structure where leadership, influence, and access already exists. This episode isn't about judgment. It's about protecting people, trust, and longevity for your community. Because when dating happens inside of a stream team, the consequences rarely stay contained. A stream team is a power structure. Let's be clear about something up front. A stream team is not a friend group. It has leadership, rules, hierarchies, influence, and unequal access. Even if it feels casual, it's still a power structure. Dating inside of a power structure introduces imbalance, whether anyone intends it or not. And imbalance changes behavior. Favoritism becomes inevitable, even if it's unintentional. When two team members date, especially when one holds leadership, team members will notice who gets promoted, who gets defended, who gets more visibility, and who gets leniency. Even if nothing inappropriate happens, perception becomes reality. Once members believe relationships influence opportunity, the trust erodes away. And trust is the backbone of any team. Breakups when in teams don't stay private. Most people don't plan for the ending. When a relationship inside a stream team ends, tensions spread, people take sides, mods feel pressured, communication shifts, decisions feel personal. Even mature breakups relieve a residue. And the team ends up carrying emotional weight that was never theirs to begin with. Dating inside the team doesn't just affect the couple. It affects everyone else. Members may feel uncomfortable speaking honestly, afraid to challenge decisions, unsure of who to trust, like outsiders in their own team. No one should feel like they're navigating someone else's relationship just to participate in a community. Leadership loses objectivity. If leadership is involved romantically with a team member, objectivity becomes compromised. Not because leaders are bad people, but because humans aren't neutral about people they care about. Leadership requires fair enforcement, difficult decisions, emotional distance when needed. Romantic attachment makes that damn near impossible. If you are romantically, it goes the same for a job too. If you are romantically involved with a hierarchy position, that person who is supposed to be a leader cannot fairly enforce anything, cannot make difficult decisions, and they cannot emotionally distance when they need to. But we're all adults, isn't the argument you think it is. Yes, adults can consent, and consent doesn't erase impact. Adults can still feel pressured, feel excluded, feel disadvantaged, feel unsafe speaking up. Maturity doesn't remove power dynamics, it just makes them quieter. And you may ask yourself, what healthy stream teams actually do? Healthy stream teams discourage internal romantic relationships. They set clear boundaries early. They address situations before they escalate. Protect the team over individual desires. If a relationship is truly meaningful, it can exist outside the team structure. If it can't survive without proximity or to power or access, that's a red flag, not a love story. Dating inside a stream team isn't a bad idea because people are wrong. It's a bad idea because the cost isn't paid just by two people. It's paid by the whole team. If you care about your community, your leadership, and your integrity, protect the structure first. Boundaries don't kill connection. They preserve it. Lead responsibly. Wow. Um, just wow. Um, we have one more topic here, and it's still stream team related. Let's talk about something that quietly destroys more stream teams than drama, burnout, or even money issues: romantic relationships. More specifically, sexualizing members of your own stream team. This isn't about being this isn't about being anti-romantic. This isn't about shaming attraction. This is about understanding power dynamics, professionalism, and why so many stream teams collapse the moment lines get blurred. If you've ever thought, if you've ever thought this way, it's harmless flirting. We're all adults. Chat likes the chemistry. It won't affect the team. This episode's for you. Why this happens so often. Streaming creates artificial intimacy. You spend hours together, late nights, emotional conversations, shared stress, shared wins, inside jokes. That environment fast tracks attachment. Add validation from chat, attention, parasocial energy, power imbalance, mods versus streamer, leader versus member, and suddenly attraction feels inevitable. But inevitability doesn't equal wise. The moment professional becomes personal, here's where things shift. When a team member is flirted with on stream, sexualized as content, treated differently because of attraction, your team notices, even if no one says it. You'll start seeing parasocial relations are left unchecked a good majority of the time, leading to that. You're not wrong, Rin. Um, I can't really speak much on parasocial relations, but yeah, a lot of the time, parasocial relations are left unchecked. It leads to a power imbalance. It really does. And once that happens, once power imbalances happen, there's it. It's hard to fix, but the team notices, even if no one says anything. You'll start seeing favoritism, awkward silences, unequal opportunities, members pulling back, resentment building quietly. And once that trust cracks, it never fully comes back. Um, it's it's all of those things. Streaming does create artificial intimacy because you do spend hours together. Ren, we can vouch for this. Me and you spend quite a few hours together. Um, we stay up late at night playing video games. Sometimes we have an emotional conversation. Sometimes we share stress with each other. We share wins. We have our inside jokes. And I hate to be the one to say it, but the environment fast tracks attachment. And then you add on, just using me and Ren as an example, pure example, nothing to see here. You start getting the validation from chat. You start getting the attention. And I'm one of Ren's mods. So it starts to become there, the power imbalance there becomes I'm one of his lead mods. So I start showing favoritism towards certain people. I start uh, having awkward silences, or you know, people would notice. So yeah, things do get made into things that they're not, especially when you stream and chat becomes a part of it. This one needs to be said clearly. If your content relies on sexual tension with your team is already unstable. Sexual jokes, suggestive comments, shipping in quotes, or flirty banter may boost engagement short term, but long term it creates objectification, unspoken pressure to play along, fear of speaking up, fear of being replaced. And here's the truth no one likes admitting. Once someone is sexualized publicly, their role is no longer equal. They become a prop, not a partner. Uh, yeah, yeah. I have felt that. I have felt all of that. I felt the I have felt the fear of speaking up. I have felt the fear of being replaced within a stream team. Most stream relationships don't end cleanly. They end with hurt feelings, awkward collaborations, passive aggressive streams, people choosing sides, leaks, subtweets, or silence. Now multiply that by shared communities, shared branding, shared income. One breakup can take down an entire team. And the team members who weren't involved, they pay the price anyway. Let's be blunt. If you're the streamer, the team leader, the one with platform control, your interest carries weight, even if you don't intend for it to. Consent can be complicated when someone fears losing their position. Someone relies on the team for exposure. Someone doesn't want to rock the boat. Intent doesn't erase impact. Leadership means restraint, not entitlement. So, should you ever date a team member? Here's the honest answer. If the team matters, not while you're on it together, healthy options look like one person stepping away from the team, clear documented boundaries, transparency, not secrecy, willingness to accept fallout. If if losing the team feels too risky, that's your answer. Strong teams are built on the following: trust, safety, predictability, respect. Not sexual tension, not flirtation, not content chemistry. If you want longevity, professionalism isn't boring, it's protective. And if you're already in this situation, the sooner you set boundaries, the less damage you'll have to clean up later. No shame, just honesty. Because the teams that survive long term aren't the ones with the most drama. They're the ones who protect their people. Strong teams. Let me say this louder for the people in the back. Strong teams are built on trust, safety, predictability, and respect. Four things. They're not built on sexual tension. They're not built on flirtation. They're not built on content chemistry. They're built on professionalism. And professionalism isn't boring, it's protective. Healthy options if you're in a relationship on a stream team, some one of you needs to step away. Clear and documented boundaries, transparency and not secrecy, and willingness to accept fallout. Tonight we've covered a few stream team issues, a few stream team topics, and we've also covered podcast topics. Our podcast for you. Um, we covered our podcast for you. We covered are you qualified to run a stream team? We covered uh, finding your podcast topic without boxing yourself in. We covered a lot. I want to say this, closing out my 39 pages of notes. We should never, ever I have a goal. My goal is to entertain. If I'm part of a stream team, it's because I trust that team. It's because I trust the people on that team. It's not because I just want people to be around. It's because I want to actually have other. My goal with being on a stream team, if I was part of one, is to help people, especially newer streamers. And my goal for this podcast is to help people understand what happens with certain topics, how to help them. I want to help people. I don't like seeing people get hurt. I don't like seeing people consistently being hurt. Granted, I've been on stream teams in the past. I will not name any names. If you've been around, you know which ones I've been on. I have bad experiences. I had bad experiences. That's all it was. That's all I'm going to say. They were bad experiences. I take nothing personal. I am still friends with one of the leaders of a stream team that I was on. And it takes a lot to lead a stream team. It takes a lot to even consider making a stream team. And sometimes I knew I missed something. And sometimes it's not easy. But a stream team is not a follow for follow community. It never has been. If you got anything from this podcast, let me know in the comments. Or if you learned anything from this, if I made your day better or if I helped you in any way, you're welcome. There should never be a time when you're doubting yourself. I know that you doubt yourself on a daily, but I'm going to pass on words of wisdom. I got this from a Facebook reel the other day. You're the best you've ever been. You're the best you that you can possibly be right now. You don't need people to validate you. You don't need people to hold you up. You fought through a year of bullshit. If this relates to you, you fought through a year of bullshit. You fought through it. You're in a new year. Let a new year define a new you. Let this year be the year of you. Don't let anyone else persuade you otherwise. And always be confident. Confidence is key. Be confident and remember, you are the best you. And you've done your best. You shouldn't be ashamed of that. Thank you guys for listening. I now close the doors to the visiting ward. I've been your warden, Matt Kildorn, and I'll open these doors again soon. Thank you guys, and good night.